A few days ago, we had a problem. We couldn't. Okay, now it's recording. Okay, I think something slipped. Oh, okay. So the money demand function comprises of three components: transactions demand and precautionary demand. So both these demand is related to the need to undertake transactions. In the case of transactions demand, it is foreseen transactions. So we know that every month we need to make certain payments, and we know roughly what is the time period. But apart from this, we can face some emergency transactions. Uh, we face some, okay, just sorry, I mean, there's something, and we are undertaking a blood transfusion at a home. So just, I think it's time that is ended. Please give me 5 minutes. I'll come back. Okay, sorry for the disturbance. Uh, we are giving a blood transfusion at home. It's a bit. It was a bit tricky. Anyway, I'll just start again. So in the last class, we had this. We were discussing the money demand function, and we had said that this comprises of three components, or rather two components. The first component relates to the transaction demand. So we need money in order to undertake transactions. They can be foreseen, in which case we call it transactions demand. Or, but we also know that there may occur some events which are not foreseen, emergency, random, and we also need some extra money to meet these requirements, unforeseen emergencies. So the transactions demand is basically dependent upon the volume of activity in the economy. And the volume of activity is measured by national income. So Keynes assumes that transactions demand is uh, proportional to the volume of activity or the national income. Therefore, he writes transactions demand is equal to Ky. So this is the first part of the transactions demand. The demand for money. Now, apart from this, Keynes argues that we have a liquidity preference, or we have a speculative demand for money. Okay. Now, what is this speculative demand? Now, remember that wealth can be kept either in the form of cash money or in the form of bonds. Now, if we keep money in the form of keep our wealth in the form of money, then this is a safe and liquid asset, but returns are zero. On the other hand, bonds have two types of returns. One is interest, which is positive. It's always positive. It may be low, it may be high, but it is always positive. The second part is capital gains or losses, because the price of bonds may change. And this can be either positive or negative. Okay. So if it is a capital gain, it is positive and our wealth increases. But if it is a capital loss, our wealth declines. Okay. Okay. So if people expect that bond prices will increase in the future, then they will buy bonds. And so money demand will fall. But if people expect that, but people know that bond prices can also decrease. In that case, they will want to sell the bonds, which means that now they will have their money holdings will increase. So this money holding is not because of the need to transactions, is not related to transactions. Okay, they are basically related to speculation. If I feel that my speculation will pay off, I will reduce money holdings and park it in bonds. But if I feel that my speculation will fail, then I'm going to hold on to my money. So the money is that part of wealth which I'm keeping aside for speculation. But I'm not using it, investing it in bonds, but it is there so that I can, you can say it's a residue. I want to keep this amount for transactions. The remaining part I can either keep as bonds. The problem is that if I keep it in bonds, I can lose the money. So to avoid this loss, I keep it in the form of cash holdings. So this is called speculative demand, or sometimes it is written as L. So this speculative demand,
So how is the
yeah,
speculation evaluated?
I didn't get your question. What do you mean by
Like,
evaluated?
means whether the bond prices will increase or decrease. Like, how do people estimate that?
Okay, I'll come to this later on. I mean, I'm just coming to this actually. Okay. Now, the speculative demand, according to Keynes, is a function of the rate of interest. না আমাকে just one টাকা ট্রান্সফার করেছি সেটা okay. So speculative demand is a function of the rate of interest, and LR is negative. Okay, I'm moving ahead a bit, but we are going to go back now. So what Keynes is saying, that if the rate of interest goes up, then people are going to hold, their demand for money is going to fall. But if you look at it, if you look at a theory, what I've said over here, these two lines, there's nothing about interest rate. What we have said is expectation about bonds. Okay. So the theory is in terms of expected bond prices. Okay. Uh, how do we bring rate of interest into the picture? Now recall that price of bonds is inversely related to interest rate. Remember? Okay. Okay. It's enough for one page. I need some more page space in the next slide. Okay. So now we want to show that the speculative demand is a function of the rate of interest. Okay. Sorry, it's not Nirmal, it is normal. So Keynes makes the assumption that agents have an idea about the what is a normal interest rate. So this is an interest rate which they expect to prevail most of the Let us call this RC. Now, my notion of what is the natural rate or the normal rate can be quite different from yours. So I believe that a normal rate of interest is 5%. You believe it, you can believe it to be 8%. Someone can assume that it is 15%. So the ideas, uh, this rate can vary across individuals. Okay. Now, why it is varying across individuals? That I'm coming to later on. Let's consider for a particular person. So what happens is that you can think about it in this way. This is the individual and this is the aggregate speculative demand. I'm putting it as I. Okay. Now forget the bottom pin for the moment. So we have for a particular person, I, we have the money demand plus bond demand that is identical to his wealth. This is the transactions demand and this is the speculative demand of the person and this is equal to the money demand. Okay. So the I represents that these hold for a particular individual. Okay. And we also have this is for a particular person. Okay. Now suppose that the rate of interest which is prevailing is greater than RC, the critical rate. Okay.
Sir, what is critical rate?
This is the normal rate. Hello,
So,
Arun. Can you, yes, please speak.
Yes, sir, I got it.
No, someone else was
yes,
trying to
sir.
speak.
My question was this normal interest rate is different from the effective interest rate that is prevailing. Like this is
Yeah,
just the expectation about the interest rate.
yeah. So you
Okay.
have a particular expected expectation that normally the effective rate of interest will be, let's say, 7%. Okay, that is constant for you. And the effective rate of interest, which is actually prevailing, can differ from this. It can be higher, equal, or less.
Yes, sir.
Similarly, I have a different effective rate of interest. It is 9%. And again, obviously, the effective rate of interest will be different from the what I am expecting. Okay. Now, suppose the actual rate of interest that is prevailing at a point of time is above this critical or the normal interest rate, what you are expecting. I'm taking just one person. Okay. So in that case, what will be your expectation? You feel that this is a very special case. Generally, what will happen is the rate of interest should be 7%, but now it is 9%. So what will you expect? That this is an unusual situation and it is going to change in the future. The interest rate is going to fall in the future. So the person will uh,
Excuse me, sir. Sir, sorry to interrupt. Sir, in the book, sir, they have marked it as normal and critical as different. Means, uh, they are saying critical to be the rate which is lesser than normal. So that is why I am confused.
okay, if you want, see, this is just uh, a way of speaking. I have used the word normal to mean critical. If you are more comfortable with the term critical, that's fine with me. Use whatever you want. As long as you understand that this RC is your expectation of the interest rate that should prevail most of the time. Okay. So if you have a situation when the actual rate of interest is higher than the critical rate, then you believe that this situation is not a normal situation. It's somewhat unusual and cannot continue for long. So, what is your expectation? How will the interest rate change in the future? The person will expect that R will fall in the future. Okay. Now, if the rate of interest falls in the future, what will happen to price of bonds?
It will go up.
So they are inversely related to R and should increase. Okay. On the other hand, suppose your R is less than RC. The person will expect, what will he expect?
R will rise in the future.
R will rise in the future so that what will happen? Price of bonds will fall in the future. Okay. So if you expect that the price of bond is increasing, we are talking about the first case. Remember what we said about capital gains and losses? What will happen if you buy bonds now? Will you make capital gains or will you make losses, incur losses?
Gains.
Then you expect to make capital gains. So if you make gains, you feel that if you invest in money, you're not going to get anything. But if you invest in bonds now, not only will you get an interest rate, but it's going to fall. So interest rate is not a major issue. But what you expect is you're going to make capital gains. So in that case, you have kept aside part of the money for transaction. Okay. You have remaining this amount. This is the speculative part. What will happen? You will divert this and you will invest it in bonds. Okay, is it clear? Is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to repeat the
Yes.
mechanism. Look at this line. Rate of interest has gone up. Okay. You believe that this is unusual. In the future, rate of interest will fall. Price of bonds will therefore rise and you will make capital gains. So what are you going to do? The money that is with you, the residual money after meeting transactions, you will try to divert this, invest in bonds, and make capital gains. Okay. So what is the situation now? High interest rate. And what is your speculative demand for money? Is it high or low?
Low.
It is low. In fact, it may be even zero. Okay. Okay. Now look at this case. Rate of interest is low. It is below the critical level, what normally prevails. So what is going to happen in the future? Rate of interest will rise, price of bonds will fall. So if you invest in bonds, you are going to incur capital losses. That is your belief, right? So in that case, you have already invested, you have kept aside part of the money for transactions. You have this amount left. What will you do with this? Will you invest it in bonds?
No.
Sorry? If you
No, sir.
invest in bonds, you are going to incur capital losses. So it will not be invested in bonds. See, if you keep it in money, 1000 will remain 1000. But if you invest it in bonds, you believe that bond prices are going to go down. So that means your 1000 will become only 800. So why should you keep it in bonds? You will not invest in bonds, but you will keep it in the form of money.
So I didn't understand this line. Like the person will believe this to be an unusual situation and to be temporary.
Okay. So basically what is the meaning of a normal or critical rate? What do we mean by normal? This is what will prevail most of the time. See, your perception may be wrong, but this is your belief. Okay. So you believe that the rate of interest will be 7% on the average for the next 5 years, let us say. So if the rate of interest becomes 9%, see, you know that, okay, this 7% is an average. There will be fluctuations around this. So at some point of time, the actual rate of interest can be above 7%. At some points of time, it can be below 7%. Okay. But when you are saying that the average is 7%, what does it indicate? If it, for some at one point of time it is 9%, do you think that it is going to go on increasing? No, it's likely to fall. Okay. So on the average, the interest rate is going to be 7% with some upswings and downswings.
Yes, sir. Understood.
So basically, let me see. Mm, Yeah, I'll just show it over here. It's going, it's something like this. So this is your critical level. And what is happening is the actual rate of interest is going to be like this. So if it is above the critical level, if it has gone up, what will happen? It's going to come down. And if it has come down, sorry, it means that it's going to rise in the future. Okay. So in this case, we see that we have low interest rates. If we have low interest rate, in what form do you want to hold your money? Bonds or speculative demand in the form of money? In what form will you keep your wealth? Money or
Speculative
bonds?
demand.
For money, speculated.
Yeah. So money will be preferred form of investing wealth. Okay. So look at this. Look at the two brown lines. High interest rate, you don't want to hold on to money. Low interest rate, you want to hold wealth in the form of money. So what happens over here is, see, suppose your interest rate is somewhere over here. Suppose this is the money. So this is the transactions demand, and out of your total money stock, this is the amount that you have remaining. Okay. You can now choose to hold this amount either in the form of money, or you can send this to invest it in bonds. If your interest rate, now remember I'm talking about just one person. If your interest rate is any of these, so these are low interest rate. This case, second case, money is the preferred form of investing wealth. So this entire money is invested in the form of money. Okay. But if you consider these, sorry, if you consider these cases, interest rate is above the critical level. So now you expect to make capital gains. So what is your speculative demand? This is the amount that you have. Will you keep it in money or will you invest it in bonds? You are going to invest it in bonds.
Bonds.
So that means, well, I can't show it exactly. So I'm drawing it over here. It will be 0. Okay. So at the initial level, when the rate of interest is very low, you're going to keep your wealth in the form of money. After, when you reach the critical level, you become indifferent. So you'll hold a portfolio. Once the rate of interest is above the critical level, you're going to keep all your wealth in the form of bonds. So the speculative demand for money will become 0. So here you have speculative demand. This is positive, and here the speculative demand is 0. Okay. Now, let us think of a situation. So this is for an individual. Now, let us think of a situation when we have the following cases. Let us say Ion has a critical rate of interest of 5. Upanita's critical rate is 6. Prithviraj's critical rate is 7. Okay. So let's start from 5. Okay, this is 5. So initially, for simplicity, we assume that this m minus m1 is the same for every person, and it is 100. Okay. So suppose your interest rate is, let us say interest rate is 2%. So Ion, what will be your uh, demand for money, speculative demand for money? Will you prefer bonds or money? See,
Sir,
what we have is R is,
Money.
sorry, RC is greater than R for all individuals, right? So that means you're at this portion, all three of you. So what is the demand, total demand for money? It is 300. Okay. Now let us make it, sorry, 5%. Okay. Or rather 5.1%. If it is 5, above 5, Ion, what will you do? Now, Ion is at this portion. Your speculative demand falls to 0, right? But Upanita, what is your money demand? You are still in this zone.
Yes, sir.
So your demand is still 100. Prithviraj is also with you. So what is the demand for money? It is now 200. So Ion has left you, but Upanita and Prithviraj still want to hold on to park the wealth in the form of money. So we have got 2 points. Let us increase interest rate even further to 6%. In that case, Upanita now shifts from here to here, right? So she's going to leave Prithviraj and join Ion. She's going to invest her entire money in the form of bonds. So we only have Prithviraj. So if we join this line, this gives the liquidity demand, the liquidity preference. Okay. So for an individual, it is in a step function, all or nothing. But because the interest rate, see, this part is very important. Okay, unless the critical rate varies between individuals, we will not have a curve like this. We will have a shape like this. So what happens is, if people have different critical rates of interest, initially when the interest rate is very low, everyone is going to be in this zone, and they are going to keep their wealth in the form of money. As the interest rate starts rising, it crosses the critical level of more and more persons. So more and more persons, more people fall in this category. So they will keep the wealth not in the form of money, but in the form of bonds. So that means the demand for money is gradually reducing from 300 to 200 to 100, and the as the rate of interest is increasing. So is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
On?
Yes, sir. No problem.
Okay.
So,
And
so
what
the curve will become horizontal, like at very low interest rates, or will it?
I've not gone into the extremities. Okay.
Okay.
So this is the shape. Now I'll come to the special cases. Okay. Okay. So let us say we have a community of 50 people. Okay. And we rank them according to the critical rates of interest. Okay. And we find that, um, let us say X has the highest critical rate at, let us say, 15%. Okay. So the others have, let's say, 2%, 3%, 5.5, and so on. So as we are moving from here, your speculate as the interest rate is increasing, it's crossing the critical rates of, let us say, A, B, C, and they are gradually shifting their wealth from money to bonds. Finally, we reach X. So this is 15%. Okay. Now, once we reach 15%, X will also hold bonds. So he was the last man who was holding money. He also shifts to bonds. Okay. So from here, gradually one or two people were moving away from money to bonds. Now everyone has moved away from money to bonds. Now if interest rate goes up even further, what will happen? Is there anyone who has any cash money left?
No, sir.
No.
No one has wealth in the form of money. So that means I'm going to make a mistake now. So don't jump up. I'm going to get a curve. The line is going to become horizontal, right? Okay. Now, actually, what will happen is, sorry, I've just made it a straight line, but it should be a curve. Ideally, it should be something like this. If this is the highest critical rate of interest, we will have in this form. Your speculative demand will become 0. Now, if we assume that people are very careful, then we can assume that they will shift the money from money to bonds, but they may hold just 1% still in the form of bonds. In that case, the demand curve will be like this. But basically, what will happen is, if I'm just not drawing it, the shape of the demand curve will be like this. Okay. So as the interest rate increases, your speculative demand cannot change. It is either 0 or no one will want to give up speculate their entire money. This case. Okay, which of them is prevailing is not very important. But the structure will be like this. So Kritika, does it answer your question? I think that
Yes,
is
sir.
what you wanted to ask, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Now let us go to the other extreme. I'm just making it a straight line. Okay. Obviously, it will be a curve. So the rate of interest is falling. Okay. Now we previously we were moving up like this. Now we are moving like this. We are lowering the rate of interest. So now initially no one wanted to hold on to bonds. Okay. As the rate of interest is falling, more and more people expect that we are crossing the critical levels of more and more people, and therefore they expect that investment in bonds is going to result in capital losses. So they are disinvesting from bonds and shifting the money back into the form of speculative demand. Now, what happens if the rate of interest falls to this level? I mean, can the interest rate continue for like this continue forever? What will happen is, see, sorry, just 1 second. I just want to check something. Okay, okay. see, the classicals believed that a rate of interest does not have any downward limit. So this trend can continue until we reach a zero rate of interest. However, Keynes argued that there is a minimum rate of interest, R mean. I mean, we have critical rates for every people, but now we also have an R mean, after which the speculative demand would become perfectly elastic. So if this is the R mean, then from here, the speculative demand is going to become perfectly elastic. Sorry, just let me create it. Okay. So when R is equal to R mean,
So price of bonds will be max in such a case.
uh, yeah, what you're saying is right. But what happens is people believe that if the rate of interest cannot fall below this, then price of bonds
It will not rise further.
exactly. So can you make capital gains?
No, sir. That is the maximum amount of capital gain.
Acha. But if you have reached the maximum, remember that what goes up has to come down. So
So beyond that, it will fall, I guess.
yeah, your expectation is that prices will fall.
Yes, sir. So rates will go high. Rates of interest.
No, not the interest rate. You're going to make capital losses.
Yes.
You've already brought in rate of interest, right? Okay. So this is what you're expecting to happen in the future, right? Now what will happen is, in this situation, you will not want to invest in bonds. There's no demand for bonds. People will sell all the demand. People will sell all the bonds and will want to retain their wealth in the form of money balances. So if you suppose we increase money supply at this point, okay. So that means let's take one person. Sorry, Upanita, since you are asking the questions, you have 1,000 rupees wealth, out of which your transactions demand is 200. Okay, so you have 800 rupees which you can invest either in bonds or you can hold it onto it in the form of money. You have already reached our min. So you expect that
Beyond this, I will have only capital losses if
yeah,
I invest in bonds.
right. So you are going to hold on to 800 in the form of money, right?
Yes, sir.
Now suppose there's an increase in money supply so that your wealth goes up. What will happen? Suppose the increased wealth is your wealth goes up by 200 rupees. How will you retain your wealth?
Through only money.
Yeah. So wealth increases,
Yes, sir.
but this entire increase will be held in the form of money. So what is happening is, at this point, the interest rate cannot fall below R min. If you increase money supply, the curve, the money demand function, will simply become uh, horizontal.
Horizontal. Yes, sir.
And this part was vertical. Kritika's case was vertical. So this is the region. This is called, this is a, oh God, I lost. Sorry, just one second. Yeah. So beyond, so once we reach R min, the money demand function is going to become horizontal. Okay. Keynes calls this the liquidity trap. The earlier one, the vertical part, is what is called the classical region. This is Keynes's contribution. You can see this part of the uh, liquidity demand is Keynes's contribution. So now we can bring together all the three zones.
Sir, sir, how are we getting this R min? Means in actual real life we can find interest rates can be pushed to near zero, like in Japan or United States.
Sir, in UK on those regions, the interest rates remain very, very, very low. Like, is there a chance that they fall into liquidity trap?
See, I mean, what you're saying is right. If you read Rashad's book, you will see that he talks about a situation it becomes like this interest rate. It can even become negative. I think he discussed one case when it was even negative, but people still kept the money in the banks. Okay, so what we have is a decreasing demand which continues below into the negative quadrant. Uh, Now, see, what I'm describing is the Keynesian case. In the Keynesian case, it was inconceivable that a rate of interest would fall to zero. So he made this argument that you will have a positive critical level at which the rate of interest is going to be, the demand for money will be vertical. Now, if we assume that the rate of interest can fall to zero, then it's going to be, it will fall like this, then it's going to be like this. Okay, along the x-axis. So if you think about it, it doesn't really see. I mean, what we are going to do is we are going to discuss the Keynesian theory. So uh, the parts that you are making, they are modern developments which was not considered or taken into account by Keynes. So what you're saying is correct. Interest rate can fall to zero. We have seen that, but Keynes hadn't seen it, and he developed his theory assuming that the minimum rate of interest was positive. So since we are discussing the Keynesian theory, we will assume that R min will not be zero, it is going to be positive. Okay, we are going to ignore the cases that you have raised. They are perfectly valid cases, but we are not going to discuss them. Okay,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
it's not that you are wrong, but uh, in fact, the zero case can be easily incorporated into this model. If you want, we can show it later. But let's just go on with a pure Keynesian case. So the Keynesian function is going to be like this. The ISLM function will be, sorry, not very well drawn, but this. So initially, when we have the this is the R mean, and this is the maximum critical rate of interest. So we are going to have a demand function like this. You can easily assume that accommodate a zero case like this. Okay, but we are going to use this one. Okay, so this overall is the money demand function. You will see later on that the two special cases where it is vertical and where it is horizontal has substantial significant policy implications. In the normal part, you have one type of policy. I mean, you can make changes through either the monetary or fiscal policy. In the Keynesian case, the what he calls the liquidity trap, monetary policy will become ineffective. Only fiscal policy will work, and its effectiveness also increases dramatically. If you go to the classical region, on the other hand, when it is vertical, in that case, this is the classical range, as it is called. So in the classical range, fiscal policy becomes completely ineffective, and it is monetary policy which is most effective. It is not only the only effective instrument, but it is its effectiveness increases compared to that in the normal range. So in this part, we can have both the fiscal and monetary policy. Once we enter over here, the impact of monetary policy becomes zero. Fiscal policy becomes even more effective. Here, fiscal policy becomes ineffective. Monetary policy becomes even more effective. Okay, you will see this later on. At this point, obviously, you'll have to just trust me, but I can assure you it's not an April Fool joke. Okay.
In this case, like in the horizontal level, the speculative demand for money is infinity.
See, what is happening is that if you increase it, see over here, what is happening? You're increasing money supply, you're increasing wealth, your money demand is going up. Here, even if you increase money supply, you're not going to hold this wealth in the form of money. Your money demand is zero. The rate of interest can go up
Sir,
indefinitely.
sir,
Yes.
all this we are graphing against speculative demand, means not money demand. Money demand will be something because
Yeah,
okay,
it's
why is that?
yeah. I have to bring in this. When I'm saying money demand, I mean speculative demand for money. I'm keeping aside transactions demand. So the question is, how do I want to hold my wealth? In bonds or money? When I'm talking about money demand here, I'm referring to speculative demand. Okay, it is M minus M1.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we now know what is the shape of the money demand function. This has two parts. One is KY. So money demand is equal to transactions demand, right, which includes precautionary demand, and the other is speculative demand. So the money demand part can be depends upon is directly proportional to the volume of transactions or economic activities. So we write it as KY, and this is written as LR. So we can see that the money demand MY is positive. Okay, dm by dy is positive, but LR is negative. I mean, obviously, we have the limits beyond. If the interest rate falls below a certain level, LR will not be negative. It will become 0. If it crosses a certain limit, again, it's going to become uh, infinity. Okay. But in the normal portion, what we call the normal portion, the derivatives will be of this form. Okay. So this is the money demand, and we have the money supply, which is fixed by the central bank. So by central bank, we don't mean the Central Bank of India, we mean the monetary authorities in the country. Now, money supply is assumed to be constant at a particular point of time. So it is one of the parameters of the model. Just as we have an autonomous government expenditure in the IS market, we have an autonomous component of investment in the IS market. Here also, we have money supply as a parameter. Now, the question over here is that when we're talking about money demand, money supply, let me just write money demand. Is it demand for real balances, or is it demand for nominal balances? And the answer is it is demand for real balances. So the money supply is written in this form. In the money market, the equilibrium condition is everything is given in real balances. Okay. So just as we had equilibrium in the IS market, we now have equilibrium in the equilibrium condition in the money market. Okay. Now let's see how we can derive the look at the money market equilibrium. So again, we use a 4-quadrant diagram, and this will be R and Y. Sorry, this is LR. This is the transactions demand. Let me draw a linear function. It will be easier to understand. So we are not going into the special cases, the classical or Keynesian case. We are going to have a negatively sloped demand for, speculative demand for money. Okay. Over here, it's not very well drawn, but this is 45 degree, this is 45 degree. Okay. So that means this and this will be equal. And if you draw a point like this, take a point like this, that will also be same. So let us take a particular rate of interest. Okay. So given the rate of interest, this is the speculative demand for money. I'm writing M2. Now suppose this is the total wealth. Okay. So what is the transactions demand?
W minus M2.
So this will be the transactions demand, right? Now, because this is 45 degree, this is also, this and this will be same transactions demand. Okay. So that means this is the transactions demand. This is the speculative demand. This is the transactions demand. Okay. Now, let us suppose that this is the KY transactions demand. As income increases, depending on the value of key, you are going to, the key will determine the slope. Okay. So therefore, if this is the transactions demand for money, we can find out what is the prevailing interest rate. Back calculating, we know what is M1, we know what is K, so it's very easy to find out what is Y. So this will be Y, and therefore this is the point where the money market is in equilibrium. Okay. Now let's take another point. Let's increase the interest rate. right? So as the rate of interest has increased, the speculative demand has fallen. Okay. Right. And if we draw it, this is the LM curve. So the money market will be in equilibrium for these combinations of interest rate and income, R1, Y1, R2, Y2, so on. Okay. Now, the question that I want to ask you is, see, I have drawn this for the normal
Sir, I
portion.
couldn't understand the 45-degree line.
Okay. দেখো, for, okay, 45-degree line is, we have drawn this line such that this is 45 and this is 45. ঠিক আছে? তাহলে দুটো অ্যাঙ্গেল যদি 45 হয়, this side and this side will be same geometric property. আচ্ছা, এই ট্রায়াঙ্গেলটা দেখো, this and this will be same. Is it clear? মানে এইটুকুন ক্লিয়ার কি?
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা, এবার দেখো, তোমার কাছে you have got, this is the, suppose at, sorry, এটা আসলে W না করে, suppose this is the money supply. Okay, এটা W হবে না, এটা M হবে. Suppose this is the total money supply in the economy. আচ্ছা, at any point of time, তোমার যে transactions demand আর speculative demand M1 plus M2 has to equal to M.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. So M is equal to M1 plus M2. ঠিক আছে? তাহলে এইখানে এইটা হচ্ছে তোমার এমটা 0 to M, এইটা হচ্ছে your total money supply. ওকে, ক্লিয়ার? আচ্ছা, এইবারে তোমার এই অ্যাক্সিসে আমি কি প্লট করছি? রেট অফ ইন্টারেস্ট, and this is the liquidity demand for money. So suppose the rate of interest is R1. What is your speculative demand? Your speculative demand will be this much. ঠিক আছে? তোমার কাছে তাহলে এম, তুমি এম কতটা জানো, এম টু কতটা জানো?
Yes, sir.
So what is this?
Equals to
M1.
M1.
ঠিক আছে? You know M, you know M2. So now you can find out M1. তাহলে এইটা হচ্ছে তোমার M. ঠিক আছে? You subtract M2. তাহলে এই অ্যামাউন্টটা তোমার M1 হয়ে যাচ্ছে, তাই তো? আচ্ছা,
Yes, sir.
এইবার আমি কি বলেছিলাম? This side and
Yes,
this
sir.
side is same geometrically, যেহেতু 45 ডিগ্রি, তাহলে এটাও M1 হয়ে যাচ্ছে।
Okay.
আর এটা তো M1 বুঝতেই পারছো।
হ্যাঁ। Okay, sir.
ঠিক আছে? ওকে, আচ্ছা এখন এইখানে
হ্যাঁ, স্যার, থ্যাংক ইউ।
আমরা যে লিকুইডিটি প্রেফারেন্সটা এঁকেছিলাম, that was the normal, what we can say is the normal portion. ঠিক আছে? But it is negatively sloped. Suppose it is in the Keynesian portion. এইভাবে তোমার যাচ্ছে। Keynesian portion means it will be horizontal. And the classical portion means it will be vertical. ঠিক আছে? তাহলে একটা হচ্ছে এরকম, একটা হচ্ছে এরকম। So I want you to find out, মানে জাস্ট তোমরা করবে কি, এই ধরনের কার্ভ না নিয়ে তোমরা একটা এরকম কার্ভ নেবে, তাহলে ক্লাসিক্যাল কেস পেয়ে যাবে। তারপর একটা এরকম কার্ভ নেবে, কেনশিয়ান কেস পেয়ে যাবে। So just find out what will happen at the two extremes. ওকে, ক্লাসিক্যাল পোর্শন যখন হচ্ছে এলএম কার্ভটা কিরকম হচ্ছে, আর যখন কেনশিয়ান কেসটা হচ্ছে তখন এলএম কার্ভটা কিরকম হচ্ছে, করে তুমি এই তিনটে পার্ট আলাদা করে, এই পার্টটা তো ডিরাইভ করে নিয়েছো, নাও ইন্টিগ্রেট অল দ্য থ্রি টুগেদার and draw the LM curve. Okay, so this is an exercise which I'm asking you to do. In fact, কোন গ্রুপ এটা করতে পারে, এখনো কোনো অ্যাসাইনমেন্ট দিইনি? বুডি ডান্স একটা গ্রুপ ছিল না?
Yes, sir.
হ্যাঁ, স্যার, হ্যাঁ,
হ্যাঁ,
স্যার।
তাহলে তোমরা করো, এটা বার করে তোমরা এটা প্রেজেন্ট করো।
আমরা করতে পারি।
ঠিক আছে, কোনো অসুবিধা হলে আমাকে জিজ্ঞেস করে নিও। প্রেজেন্ট ইট অন টুমরো, ওয়েডনেসডে, প্রেজেন্ট ইট অন ফ্রাইডে। ঠিক
ওকে,
আছে।
স্যার।
আচ্ছা, okay, now we can think of the curves in a slightly different way. আচ্ছা, এটা হয়ে যাচ্ছে টোটাল ডিমান্ড ফর মানি। আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, so now we have derived the IS curve, and what is the equilibrium condition in the IS curve? IR plus G is equal to Sy minus T. This is the equilibrium condition in the IS commodity market.
So plus T.
Yes, sorry,
So
sorry.
shouldn't it be plus T?
Wait a minute, let me just correct this. So the curve representing equilibrium in the goods market, the condition is investment plus government spending is equal to savings plus tax. So this is the commodity market, and in the money market, we have M by P when M is constant. This is equal to KY plus LR. Sometimes we often write it as, we combine the two and write it as either L or M, whatever. Okay. And we know in addition to this, we have the bond market, but this is the mirror image of the money market. From Walras law, we know that the if the commodity market and money market is in equilibrium, the bond market will also be in equilibrium. But we are not just interested in the equilibrium situations. We are also interested in what happens in disequilibrium. And there, Walras law doesn't really help us. So what we can do is, why we still drop the bond market is, as you know, the bond market is a mirror image of the money market. So if there's disequilibrium in the money market, if there's excess demand, we know there'll be excess supply in the bond market and vice versa. We know what is happening from the, if we study the money market disequilibrium, we know what will happen in the bond market also. But generally what we do is we just focus on the commodity and money market and discuss it together. Okay. So this part is very easy. We simply have the bring in the two curves. So I'm going to use vertical lines. So this is the IS curve and this is the LM curve. And so each point represents the interest rate and income combination, which will keep the IS curve in equilibrium. And the LM curve gives the interest rate income combination, which will keep the money market in equilibrium. And this is the this is the interest rate and income, which will keep both the markets in equilibrium. Okay. So this is R star, this is Y star, and this is the equilibrium. Okay, so is there any questions about this? Okay. Now remember that what we have written over here, IR plus, see, we have written this in this form. Okay. Now let me just rewrite this. look at this structure. See, what is the variable over here? It's a variable, it's a function of y. This part is a function of r. This is y. Rate of interest. And here we have constants. Okay. So this is a linear equation system. Remember that in metrics, we were using a linear equation system to solve equations, right? So once, if you can bring this equation over here, like this, if you can write this, we can solve for y and r, but more important, what we can do is we can have a look at we can undertake what is called comparative static exercises. So we can change the parameter, we can change money supply, we can increase government spending, we can change the tax, and we can find out what is going to happen to y and r. We will do this graphically, intuitively, but we will also do this mathematically. And in that case, we are going to use Cramer's rule. Okay. Now, before ending, I just want to go back to the speculative demand part. Okay. So we had written M2 is a function of LR. And in this portion, LR was negative. Okay. Now in this portion, what will be the value of LR? See,
So
LR.
0.
Okay. So what is happening? DR is not changing. So this will be 0. And over here,
Infinity.
it is going to be infinity. Okay, so just keep this in mind that when we are writing M2 is equal to LR with LR equal to 0 if R is, right, this is the minimum rate of interest. LR is negative. So this is, let us say, RC max and LR. Okay. So keep in mind this. We will require these results when we do the comparative statics.
Sir, is this somewhere
Give me
related
1
to
second.
elasticity?
No, it's directly slope, isn't it? I mean, obviously you can see, if you can look at this, what will be the elasticity at this point in the classical region?
So it's infinity. So it's
No, the slope is infinity.
yes,
This is
sir.
not the elasticity. So if the slope is infinity,
Sir, 0.
then elasticity is 0. It's
0. Yes.
perfectly inelastic. And in the Keynesian case, it's the opposite. It's perfectly elastic. Elasticity is infinite. Okay. So is there any other question? Otherwise, I'll close at this point. So I've been mainly covering the ISLM model. Let me see, what is this part? Mm, uh, so you can see, I mean, the 4-quadrant diagram, however, I've covered from Branson. So that is something which you can do very mechanically, which is good for the weak students. And the stronger students can focus on the intuition. It helps you to find out if you remember the equations correctly and the diagram correctly, you can just work out everything very easily. And the comparative statics becomes very easy. But remember that you also have to understand the intuition behind the changes. It's not just enough to reproduce the results. You also have to explain it. So do read Branson. I'll send the link to you so you can download the book and just read the ISLM model from that also. So Freund and Branson, but do read Freund also. Don't just ignore it. Okay, because the liquidity trap, these portions I've covered from Freund. What's happening? I've covered from Freund, and I'm going to come back to Freund in the comparative cases also. Okay. Okay, can you just tell me one thing? What will happen? How can you model the change in money supply?
Sir, means
Give the color.
the red line will shift outwards.
Wrong. It's a brown line.
So,
Sorry, I was joking. It's a brown line which will shift outwards.
yeah.
Sorry, Owen scolds me so much that I thought that I would have my revenge. Uh,
Sorry, sir.
no, no, don't worry. Mm. Then, of course, you can think of what will happen if the number of volume of transactions goes up. I mean, if key goes up. If key goes up, this curve will shift like this. Instead of like this, it will be like this. Uh, Lastly, it's somewhat more difficult to understand what will happen when the LR function, nature of the LR function changes. It becomes more elastic or more responsiveness to rate of interest. So that means if the interest rate falls from R1 to R2, instead of this, suppose the demand curve becomes like this. How will in that case also, the LM curve will change. So, so the position of the LM curve depends upon three things: money supply, the brown line. If money supply increases, brown line shifts outwards. Two is key may increase. So it was the green line will rotate downwards. By downwards, I mean it's going to come from here to like this. And lastly, the responsiveness of liquidity demand, speculative demand to changes in R may change. So if L becomes more responsive, then the curve will rotate upwards. Okay, is it clear? Any questions about this? So keep in mind these things, but this is going to be the most important of the three policy changes. Okay, so goodbye till tomorrow.
স্যার
Yes.
স্যার বলছিলাম প্রেজেন্টেশনটা আমরা ফ্রাইডে দিতে পারি?